Namaskaram. Hello and welcome, hardworking individuals. Well, in the First World War that was fought from 1914 to 1918, do you know that India participated in it, but not as an independent nation, but as a colony of Britishers? And a whopping 13 lakh soldiers were Indians, and lakhs of them sacrificed their life for the cause that was not even of India. Well, what was the conditions that made Indians to participate in the World War I, and what were the Indian leaders expecting, because there were few leaders like Mahatma Gandhi who supported India's participation in the World War I. And we are also going to see in today's class about the Home Rule League movement and as well as the Montagu-Chelmsford Reforms. So let's get started, but a very quick info for you. Do you know who was the first woman who became the president of Indian National Congress in 1917? I'll tell you in the coming up minutes. And also you tell me in the comments who was the first Indian woman to become the president of Indian National Congress and when. So if and when you want the PDF of this classes for free, you can join our Telegram channel. And also if you are preparing for UPSC CSE and for TGPSC Group 1, guys, we have brought an integrated batch for you, and there is special discount right now that is going on. So you can call on the numbers given below and inquire for more. And let's get started with this. So during the First World War that happened from 1914 to 1918 is what, to be very precise, it was fought between the Allies and the Central Powers. Allies were constituted of the countries like Britain, France, Russia, and later on USA also joined them. And the central provinces had the countries like Germany, Austria, the Ottoman Empire, as well as Hungary, to be very precise. And at that time we see that there was a very varied response from the different sections of India that whether we should be joining it or not. The moderates supported Britain as a duty to the empire, while the extremists, including Tilak, supported the war in the hope of receiving self-government as a reward. So overall, if you see, the moderates and the extremists both were in support of the Britishers and Indians fighting the war for the Britishers. On the other hand, revolutionaries saw the war as a golden chance to overthrow British rule, as Britain's military and financial resources were strained at that time, and revolutionary activities were conducted about groups like Ghadar Party in North America and Berlin Committee in Europe, and through mutinies such as the one in Singapore. We have already done this in the last class. If you have not seen it, please, you should subscribe to our channel and also subscribe to the playlist and see it completely. Now, what about the Home Rule League movement? The Home Rule movement was India's response to the World War I. Okay, and there were leaders like Tilak, Annie Besant, G.S. Kapade, then Subramaniam Iyer, Joseph Baptista, and Jinnah. Yes, the very famous Jinnah, who ignited this fire of the Home Rule League at that time. And the movement was aimed to create a year-round national organization, unlike the Congress annual sessions, and to demand the self-government. This is the most important point. Home Rule League wanted the self-government as it was given at that time to Australia and Canada. Now, eventually two separate Home Rule Leagues will be there. One will be followed by Bal Gangadhar Tilak and other will be led by Annie Besant. Okay, and as I asked you that who was the first women president of Indian National Congress, when in 1970 in Calcutta, it was Annie Besant. Okay, now the nationalists at that time felt that only popular pressure could force the government to concede for the reforms, and also there were some heavy taxation and rising prices during World War I that created widespread discontent among the people. Now, Tilak, if you remember, was sent to the Mandalay jail. Okay, and he has returned back after 6 years In 1914, after his release, Tilak offered conciliatory gestures, loyalty to the British, unity with the moderates, and rejection of violent methods. That was while urging Indians to aid Britain during the crisis. So, did Tilak support while the World War I? Yes, he did. And Annie Besant was an Irish theosophist in India since 1896. Theosophical Society or Theosophical Movement is something which was founded by H.P. Blavatsky and H.S. Olcott, and it was just a branch of it that was there in Adyar in Chennai at that time, and there they expanded the activities and took the initiative to organize the Home Rule League movement. It was also moduled on the Irish Home Rule League, and this Annie Besant, she was an Irish lady. This is also something that you should know about. Now the league was there for the unity. Tilak and Annie Besant realized that cooperation of both moderates and extremists was really very important, and there were early efforts like Besant campaigned for the self-government after the war through her newspaper New India and Commonweal and public meetings. Now this is very important that the name of her newspapers can be asked in the examination. At the 1915 Congress session, extremists were readmitted, but her proposal for Home Rule League was not approved at that time. Then there will be the formation of league. As Congress failed to act, Besant proceeded to establish her own league. Tilak too set up a separate league at that time. Now both of them came together, and both Tilak and Besant league coordinated their activities by working in distinct areas. Now what about the Tilak's league? Tilak established the Indian Home Rule League in April 1916 with its headquarters at Pune at that time, and the first Home Rule League meeting under his leadership was held at Belgaum. Now his league operated mainly in Maharashtra, that excluded Bombay City, Karnataka and the central provinces and Berar, and expanded through 6 branches. The key demand again was the Swaraj. What is the meaning of Swaraj? It means self-rule. Okay, the formation of linguistic state. Now understand, Swaraj is different from complete independence. Swaraj is the self-rule or the home rule where you are going to rule, but at the top of you there will be the Britishers, there will be the British Queen. But complete independence means you are now sovereign, nobody is there at the top of you. Annie Besant founded the All India Home Rule League in September 1916 with its headquarters at Madras, now that's in Chennai. The league obviously grew and covered the rest of India, included Bombay City, and rapidly grew to around 200 branches. Now please understand, Bombay was not in Tilak's jurisdiction. Okay, Bombay was in Annie Besant's jurisdiction. Please remember that, it might be asked to confuse you. The league's organizational work was led by George Arundale as the organizing secretary, and significant contributions from B.W. Wadia and C.P. Ramaswamy Iyer. The Home Rule League program that you can see, it was meant to spread the idea of self-government through political education, public meetings, libraries, newspapers, plays, songs and social work. And it also, the Russian Revolution of 1917 further boosted this movement at that time. And you see the leaders who were inspired by this and their participation. You have leaders like Motilal Nehru, Jawaharlal Nehru, C.R. Das, Jinnah, Malviya Sapru and Lala Lajpat Rai joined the movement. Many became heads of the local branches, with Jinnah leading the Bombay division at that time. Now what about the support and opposition? So moderate congressmen and members of the Servant of India Society supported the campaign at that time. But there were these Anglo-Indians, most Muslims and South Indian non-Brahmins stayed away from it. Please remember that. Now there is this regressive measure, so the government obviously will not like it, so they will try to bring it down. The government cracked down heavily. Students were banned from the meetings. Tilak faced restrictions, and Annie Besant with her associates B.P. Wadia and George Arundale was arrested. When Annie Besant was arrested, guys, it created a lot of havoc. It provoked widespread protest, and in that protest only, a very famous individual, Subramaniam Iyer, who was a very renowned justice, he has also received his knighthood for the very same services. He renounced his knighthood. This is important point. It was done in the against of the arrest of Annie Besant and his aides or the associates at that time. And Tilak called for passive resistance, which further intensified the movement. And what was the outcome of it? The repression backfired, strengthening the agitators. And even we will see that Montagu, who was the Secretary of States of India at that time, criticized the policy, and Annie Besant was released in September 1917. Now, though the Home Rule League movement was very significant, but it faded out shortly. There were a few reasons for it. Number one, it had very weak organization. There was no proper effective organizational structure. Communal tensions, there were riots in 1917-18 that also weakened the national unity at that time. Then the moderate withdrawal from it, moderate specified by Montagu's 1917 reform statement, and Besant release lost interest in it. Extremist moderate divide also played a role for it, because again you'll see Tilak is talking about passive resistance, and reforms and leadership crisis was also there, as the Montagu-Chelmsford reforms divided the rank, and the rise of Gandhi. That was also a reason, because now Gandhi was becoming a popular mass movement in India. Now, the Lucknow Session of Indian National Congress 1916, this is also very important. There are two specific things that you should remember about the Lucknow Session. Number one, that it was the session where the extremists and the moderates came together. And number two, it was the session where Indian National Congress and Muslim League will come together and they will give joint statements. It was presided by Ambika Charan Majumdar at that time, and the Congress readmitted extremist leader Bal Gangadhar Tilak. Annie Besant and Tilak worked hard for this reunion, and Tilak reassured that moderates get to know that he is now no more going to use any violent methods. I have also said you that this time Muslim League had come under the influence of younger militant nationalists, which brought its objective closer to that of the Congress, and that is why you will see that Muslim League and Congress have come together. Why there is this change in the League's attitude? So you'll see anger over Turkey. So Britain's refusal to support Turkey during wars with Italy and in the Balkans. This was a reason why Muslims at that time revered the Khalifa. So that is something that it was against them. An element of the Bengal partition. So there were Muslims who also liked the partition of Bengal, that because there was a separate Muslim state given at that time. Okay. But what we are seeing that it has been taken back, so that was not to be the liking of the Muslims. Before refusal to establish a full-fledged affiliating university at Aligarh, this also created the resentment. Now the shift in the League politics, the younger member of the Muslim League moved towards nationalist politics and the wartime repression, where we see the separation of Muslim press, Al-Hilal and Comrade, and interment of leaders like the Ali brothers, Azad and Hasrat Mohani fostered strong anti-imperialist policies at that time. The nature of the pact was something that will see the Congress accepted separate electorates for the Muslims, and to continue with the community sought joint electorates, while Muslims were assured a fixed share of seats in the legislature. There were some joint demands that were included by both Indian National Congress and Muslim League: early declaration of self-government for India, expansion of representative assemblies with elected majorities and more powers, 5-year term for the legislative councils, payment of Secretary of State not by the Indians but by the British Treasury instead, and the inclusion of at least half Indians in the Viceroys and the Governor's Executive Council. After this, we'll see the very famous Montagu statement of August 1917, August Declaration. Here we will see that he will talk about the very famous diarchy or the dual government. Okay. Now, what was its impact on the national? The demand for self-government or the home rule was no longer considered seditious, or as responsible government became an official policy. And you will also see that the British had no plan to transfer full power to Indian majority. Rather, they proposed a system of limited responsibility through the concept of diarchy at that time. You should also remember that diarchy or the dual governance, it had finance, police and the justice that was reserved and that was under the Britishers at that time, and the others were given to the Indians. But even whatever was given to the Indians, at the top of that, if the governor, British governor, wanted to override, he could have overridden it. Okay, now there was India's objection. What was India's objection to the Montagu statement? It did not specify any clear time frame for achieving responsible government, and number two, the pace and nature of reforms were left entirely to the discretion of the British, which Indians resented at, as it is implied that the government alone would decide what was suitable for them. So it was not according to the Indians, and that is why Indians resented against it. So guys, with that we have come to the end of this class. Let's very quickly see some of the questions. If you have any question regarding your preparation, you can call on the numbers given below and ask any of the educator for free. Once again, I am repeating, if you want the PDF of this classes for free, you can join our Telegram channel. The Lucknow Pact 1916 between the Congress and the Muslim League was significant because it led to joint constitutional demands and communal seat reservation. This is the correct answer. You can pause and see the explanation for yourself. Which of the following was a key feature of the August Declaration by Edwin Montagu? Gradual development of self-governing institution with Indian participation. This gradual development, this was the issue what the Indians were happening. They wanted a proper time frame here. One of the main objections of the Indian leaders to Montagu's August Declaration was it lacked a specific time frame and left reforms entirely to the British discretion. This is something that we have already discussed. Next question, the Home Rule League founded by Tilak and Annie Besant aimed to spread the idea of self-government through political education and the social work. Last but not the least, the question says which factors contributed to the decline of the Home Rule League movement by 1919. So there was leadership vacuum, there was this Montagu-Chelmsford Reforms, and Gandhi's rising mass movement were few of the reasons why there was decline of Home Rule League movement by 1919. So guys, with that we have come to the end, but this can be the beginning for you if you are preparing for UPSC, TSPSC or APPSC for one-on-one live mentorship by Deepika ma'am and us educators. You can call on the numbers given below and get started with your journey from the aspirant to the administrative officer. If you liked it, please like and subscribe so that we can meet again, and keep working hard for your success. Today or tomorrow, you will be successful. Namaskaram.